Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and the AirPods Pro 2 have been out for over 560 days at this point. We've had two different versions of them throughout the sort of lifetime of the AirPods Pro 2, but it only brought an updated case that added USB-C and then added the ability for lossless audio with Apple Vision Pro. So since they're basically the same over that entire time span, I thought we'd talk about how they're holding up, what they're actually like now as far as battery life, also features they've added, along with if you should buy these now or maybe wait for AirPods Pro 3 that are expected, well, maybe this year or next. So first, let's talk about the overall design, as it's pretty iconic and noticeable at this time. It's a carryover from the AirPods Pro 1, where they added a little thing on the side here for a little lanyard if you want it, and then on the bottom they added some speakers so we can locate them with Find My. We also have magnetic charging, so if you're using MagSafe, so whether that's on a dock or something else, we can just stick it on there and charge it, which is really nice. And then of course we've got different features with the AirPods themselves. The overall case scratches very easily, and that's not too big of a deal, but it's basically the same sort of scratchable plastic that we had with the original iPod Nano. So it scratches very quickly, and that's just kind of life with an AirPods Pro case if you don't have a cover on it. Some people put a case on it. I typically throw this in a backpack and it holds up well. The overall durability and build has been great. They haven't fallen apart. Some people have put them through washers and dryers and they've held up pretty well, and I really haven't had any issues there. You don't really expect them to wear out. They're sort of a sealed unit with the exception of the earpiece here, where you can change the overall earpiece that goes into your ear. Other than that, there's not really much to break here or fall apart, so they hold up pretty well that way. Of course, features-wise, we've got noise cancellation, transparency, and Find My. All of those features work really well, and of course we've gained more features along the way. Now, we do get updates for these regularly, and sometimes people say they improve transparency, sometimes they change it, but I've found that it's been pretty consistent and typically improved as far as connectivity and other features along the way. If we go into our settings here, of course it just shows up. I would like a little bit different menu update, but we even have optimized battery charging and more. We can't see the battery health, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Of course, with iOS 17, we gained a bunch of features with these. So we gained things such as adaptive audio. We'll scroll down here. We've got transparency, adaptive, noise cancellation, of course, other features with personalized volume, conversational awareness, even loud sound reduction. And I turned some of this off, as this can affect what people think is with transparency, where Apple may have reduced it, but typically it's just some of these features being enabled. I find that it works pretty well. Turn these off and it won't change the volume, and it will just be great noise reduction or transparency altogether. Apple continues to add features, and we've got personalized spatial audio they've added along the way, different accessibility features they've added along the way, and much more. So it's great that we can use Siri with it. We've got updates with it, and under accessibility, if we go here, and then we go down to our AirPods and Beats. Of course, you've got AirPods Pro 2, they're connected, and we have different things such as press speed, or press and hold duration, or noise cancellation on one AirPod. Apple's really great at actually offering different features for those that may need something a little bit different for a little extra help, or just want to change it up a little bit. Of course, we have Siri response times we can change, and much more to go along with this. So it's really a pretty great product that gets overlooked as far as just being something that you can't do with on its own, but it's really a great companion to all the Apple devices. Of course, with iOS 17, they also added the ability to fast switch between devices more quickly. So if you're listening to it here, it'll switch quickly between a Mac or an iPad and then back to an iPhone. This definitely increased greatly in the latest updates, and I'll show you how quick it is now. So if I open my AirPods Pro 2, and I've got my iPad here, place them in my ears, it will just start playing automatically. If I go over to the iPhone, and then maybe I go into music and hit a button to play the song, it immediately jumps over here. You can see the icon here, and now I'm listening to it on my iPhone. So this feature is super great. As long as you have handoff enabled on both devices, you can move it back and forth. You'll see here, of course, swipe that out of the way, and as long as you have handoff enabled on your device, it will swap between devices. So that's something that I think is hard to match on different devices, where it just jumps between your iPhone, Mac, iPad, and works really seamlessly. Of course, when you take it out of your ear, it will stop playing, place it back, it starts playing, all these features we've had for some time. So it just keeps getting better and better, and they could be bringing more features with iOS 18, meaning that these could maybe gain some functionality for hearing aids. So instead of using accessibility with hearing devices that you have specifically for this, you might be able to use your AirPods Pro in maybe a situation that you need to. So that's something we could see in the future. Also, when it comes to overall battery life, well, battery life seems to be about maybe 4.5 hours at this point. Now, these came out late last year, so they're fairly new as far as that goes, but typically after a couple years, they will start to degrade. And in fact, I have all of my AirPods here. So if we close out all of this, we'll get the iPad out of the way. With the original AirPods, they seem to hold up pretty well, but the battery did start to degrade after a couple years to the point where they just didn't work anymore. There was a service that actually replaced the batteries and then sort of brought it back to new. So there is services out there that will change that for you if you want to. But the other AirPods that I have, such as the AirPods 3 and AirPods Pro, while they're not as good as when they were new, still last at least a few hours without a problem. And I'll talk about why you would consider the AirPods Pro 2 over others, including the AirPods Max, in just a moment. But all of them are pretty great, and AirPods Pro 2 have turned out to be my favorite. They last about 4.5 hours for me, and I've used them on planes where I had the opportunity to use either the AirPods Max, which I really like, or the AirPods Pro 2. And it turns out that the AirPods Pro 2 seem to have very similar noise cancellation. So it's close enough that it's not really an issue, and it's more convenient to bring the smaller AirPods Pro 2 on a flight than carry around the AirPods Max, as much as I really like them. AirPods Max are probably more comfortable over the ear. However, AirPods Pro 2 obviously are much lighter. So there's advantages to each one, and the AirPods Max, while I think if you're going to be editing all day or something along those lines, the AirPods Max work a little bit better for some reason, and the AirPods Pro 2 are definitely great, but keeping something in your ear all day is something I personally don't like and sometimes can cause your ears to itch. I find them very comfortable. They stay in place all of the time, but that's not the case for everyone. So depending on the shape of your ear, it will change over time, of course. We have had some issues with the AirPods Pro 2 as well throughout iOS updates and AirPods updates with connectivity. And typically one of the odd issues I get is when I'm using these to edit a video, I'll typically put on a video in the background so that it's constantly streaming to the AirPods. But then what happens is the sound starts to degrade after a few minutes. The only way to fix this is place them back in the AirPods case, close it, fully disconnect them, reconnect them, and then they work again. So that's an issue I've currently been having. Everything else seems to work fine for me though. Sound quality wise, AirPods Pro 2 continue to impress me, but they're definitely not the best ones out there. They have good bass. They're great for movies as far as spatial audio and spatial music, but of course there are better options out there. But if you're an audiophile, you already know this probably, and you're probably using a DAC with maybe wired headphones as well. But as far as wireless go, along with their convenience features, it's hard to beat the AirPods Pro 2 or the AirPods Max. AirPods Max I think sound a little bit better because they have larger drivers, but in general AirPods Pro 2 get more features and are more convenient. So the sound quality is great. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good overall and better than most people really care about. In fact, most people even that prefer better sounding audio will use these just because of the convenience features and how well they work between Apple devices. So yes, they're pretty good. And if you've been using regular AirPods, maybe the originals or maybe the AirPods 3, I think you'll be pretty happy with these in general. But if you've been using something that's connected to a DAC or something along those lines, well, then you're not going to be impressed. But overall, they're pretty good. They do have lossless with the Apple Vision Pro, but I would argue that probably the drivers aren't good enough for most people to actually recognize that they're better. So the lossless music with it is fine, or Apple Vision Pro lossless, but most people probably won't notice a difference there. But either way, they're definitely good sounding. They're not amazing, and there's better out there, but for the price and the convenience features, it's definitely worth using these just because they're more than adequate and bordering on good to maybe a little bit better than good. So it just depends on your overall opinion or how you listen to music or what you think of that. But I prefer a DAC with wired headphones for serious music listening. These are good enough for day-to-day use and editing videos. Also, if I compare them with the AirPods 3, Comfort-wise, I find the AirPods 3 to be more comfortable, but I use these in the situation where I need to hear the environment, but don't want to use transparency. I actually like to have these in my ears where they don't actually go into your ear canal, but rather sit just outside of it, and it's just a little more comfortable over time. I think we'll see AirPods Pro 3 maybe have more of a similar design, but that goes into your ear as well. So I think depending on how you like to wear earbuds, I would probably use the AirPods 3 in a work environment where I need to hear others, as opposed to AirPods Pro 2 where I need to sort of silence everything around me. As far as future AirPods, well, I talked about this a little bit in the previous videos where we could have one with a case with a screen on it, but this is just something that was found in an Apple patent that someone in China actually made. It's sort of a knockoff version of what it could be like. So maybe Apple will do something like this. I don't know that it's necessary at all, but it does have controls where you can control music and more. But as far as when to expect AirPods Pro 3, well, the latest leaks and rumors suggest maybe early next year in 2025. So we could see those pretty soon, but if you want to buy them now, I would definitely recommend them as they've been reduced in price for quite some time. Typically, every week or two, they're on sale from Apple on Amazon for $189.99 instead of the original about $250. So for that price, I would highly recommend them. They're my number one device that I use every single day with everything. So I highly recommend them, and they've held up really, really well. Let me know if you have AirPods Pro 2. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.